Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee. This is a rescheduled meeting because of the holiday, so we're meeting in the morning. I'm Cam Gordon. I'm chair of the committee, and I'm joined by council members Fry, Bender, and Glidden. We're a quorum of the committee. Councilmember Andrew Johnson is out ill today, and I suspect Councilmember Kano will be arriving soon. We have three things to take up today, two great discussion items that I'm really looking forward to, and one consent item. I think I'll move the consent item forward first, and we can certainly discuss it if any committee members would like to. This is authorizing a contract with the Minnesota Department of Health to receive $180,000 for home visiting services for women and young children, and approving the increase in the appropriation and revenue estimate in the Health Department grants federal fund by that same amount. This is to continue a program that we've been doing with neonatal and early childhood home visits through our maternal and child home visiting services. I will, seeing no discussion, I will move that item forward. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. And now we'll move on to our first discussion item. This is a discussion item of our Healthy Communities Transformation Initiative. And I believe that presenter in our committee is Charlene. And you might have to pronounce your last name for me. Okay, but welcome. You can take a minute to get set up if you'd like. Yep.
Thank you, Chairman Gordon, council members. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Charlene Muzeka, and I'm a senior public health researcher at the Minneapolis Health Department. I'm here today to talk about the Healthy Communities Transformation Initiative, or more specifically about the tool or website that is being launched today. Apologize for this. So the tool or the website is about a tool that provides information about physical, social, and economic conditions of health in the community. And these are at the neighborhood level. These things are also commonly referred as social determinants of health. This data or information can be used for a variety of reasons, such as strategic planning, data for grant applications, and performance monitoring. And like I mentioned, it's part of a pilot project called the Healthy Communities Transformation Initiative. Minneapolis is actually one of 4 cities in the country that was selected to participate in this pilot project, and we are the first to launch our website or tool. The project was initiated and funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Before I get into the website itself, I just wanted to make sure that everyone had a common understanding of what I meant by a neighborhood health indicator. So these are reliable and valid measures of social, economic, or environmental characteristics or condition of a neighborhood that influences health and human development or is broadly representative of health and human development in the population. Over 200 indicators were considered for inclusion in the website. 90 were actually reviewed by experts nationally, and about 41 were recommended for final inclusion on the website itself. Each indicator was rated based on its nexus to health, actionability, data availability, and community relevance. Examples of indicators are long-term unemployment and low birth weight. The final indicators are organized into 12 domains based on their topic area which they fit in. There are also demographic and contextual indicators provided for each Minneapolis neighborhood. And when I say Minneapolis neighborhood, I'm referring to the 87 neighborhoods of Minneapolis. including diversity within the neighborhood, income, and poverty. There are several features of the website. There are health indicator and neighborhood-specific web pages, as well as the contextual and demographic information for each neighborhood. There is also the ability to add targets for each neighborhood, and as a requirement for HUD, the neighborhoods are actually ranked and we can compare them. There's also a description of how the data was collected and analyzed, the ability to download the data, and links to additional resources. The website is being shared in a variety of ways, including a link on the Health Department website. I have presented and will be presenting to a variety of groups, including tomorrow evening to some neighborhood organizations that could maybe benefit of having this data at the neighborhood level. And also, there will be an article in some staff internal newspaper or newsletters, because this could be a tool that city staff could use as well. Part of being the pilot is the opportunity for feedback. So like I said, Minneapolis is one of 4 cities participating in this pilot, and we have been giving feedback at the federal level, and we will also have the opportunity to give feedback once the website is launched. Changes have been made to the website already based on some feedback that we had, so that is a possibility. An organization called Healthy Housing Initiatives, Inc. is actually leading this pilot at the federal level on behalf of HUD, and Noreen Beatley will be here in Minneapolis today and tomorrow, and will also be able to answer any questions or meet with anyone who is interested. I'll just go to the website now. This is the main page of the website. It gives some information on what the website is about and has the ability to click on the domains. It also shows in tertiles or thirds where neighborhoods fall. Just pulling up an example of a neighborhood page here. So this is Powderhorn Park. At the top, it gives a description of the neighborhood itself, a link to the neighborhood organization page if it does have one, and a breakdown of where the indicators lie, again, in the tertiles. On the left-hand side, it describes all the indicators, what domain the indicator is in, as well as the value of it. On the right-hand side, it gives a picture of where the neighborhood itself is located in Minneapolis, and also demographic and contextual measures, such as the concentrated poverty. Each indicator you can click on, and it gives a description of what the indicator is, as well as how to interpret the indicator, and shows the rest of the neighborhood values.
We have a question, Councilmember Fry. Oh.
You can also click on the headers in that table to sort by different characteristics. There's also the ability to search by your address, or click on the map for looking at specific neighborhoods, as well as a description of every single domain that was in there. I think another strength that's of this website is having the resources on there. So we included a link to the Minneapolis Open Data Portal. And if you scroll down, it also has a description of exactly where we got the information and how you would analyze it. So this allows also individuals who might want to use it for other cities or just in their own planning to look the data up as well. And that concludes my presentation, but I'm welcome to answer any questions that any of you might have.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Glidden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, this is a really very interesting project. I will say I don't have my computer right here, otherwise I'd be kind of playing around on that a little bit more. So I take it, is this something, you know, we sometimes hear about these, like your zip code can determine your life expectancy. Is this something that is a similar measure, or is it something a little bit different than that?
Chairman Gordon, Councilmember Glidden, thank you for that question. It is place-based health in the fact that where you live does influence your access to certain things or your opportunities. It's not the exact same thing as where you live. Where you live does influence your health. It's not exactly the same thing as life expectancy. Life expectancy is based on where you were born and not necessarily, it's a comparable index, but.
Okay, but different. All right, that's helpful. I was curious too about, you talked about how this is part of a national pilot project, and we are one of these 4 pilot cities, and I was curious how much uniqueness we are able to have in the Minneapolis decisions, or if everything is similar, so that, or the same in terms of both presentation and indicator choice and how you define the indicators. Maybe you can just help with that a little bit.
So the website was designed, or the tool was designed in a sense that any city could feasibly do this. So there wanted to be a degree of commonality between cities and indicators. Having said that, I have been informed that there's a possibility of adding a 13th domain that's city-specific, that we could add Minneapolis-specific indicators. Part of the pilot process itself is to determine if these indicators are relevant to the work, and there is some opportunity to give feedback and to modify or drop or include additional indicators. Again, we can make recommendations. I can't say which ones will be changed though in the end.
And then I was curious about the determination to show a 1 through 87 ranking for the neighborhoods. My guess is that there was conversation among kind of the research team or whatever about that versus just showing low, medium, high rankings, or even attainment towards a benchmark. And so can you tell a little bit about why that choice was made? Because of course nobody likes to be 87 out of 87, and it sort of perpetuates, I guess, some competition or whatever. So I'm actually quite curious about how that determination was made.
Absolutely. The specific ranking was a HUD requirement. We have received feedback like that, and I have communicated to the federal level that one of the suggestions Minneapolis has is using strength-based language. So instead of having a top, middle, bottom, having like strength, opportunities, greatest need. There's also the ability to put benchmarks in there, maybe making that more prominent. So actually having a column on the side of those tables that says met or not met. So people, different communities and neighborhoods can move and progress can be shown. So that is something that we've considered, and we continue to communicate that.
Okay, because that also then goes to how might this information be utilized at the local level? And I would assume that one way we'd want to utilize it is identifying some benchmarks, or how do you determine progress if you're not able to see benchmarks and your progress towards the benchmark, other than just continuously seeing a range of where you fall on the scale of these particular neighborhoods?
Absolutely. So there is on the actual website, I asked, it will hopefully become more prominent where it is located, but for each indicator on the bottom right-hand corner, you can actually go in, and if they do have established benchmarks already, you can go in there and click, and I can show you for example, low birth weight. And I looked and it's not there now, but I'll check into that. But it does have the ability to do that. So that is something that we can also communicate.
So then this is maybe my last question. I know that there's other people in queue with questions. And again, I don't have my computer here, so I'm not like piecing through, and I will do that later. But I did see when you were showing one example that one of the first indicators was this access to financial services. I was actually kind of curious about what equates to that access to financial services. Because there's also some national trends going on with banks eliminating their branch opportunities and all sorts of things like that. So I'm kind of curious about that one.
Sure. So this one is particularly talking about the percentage of households that are unbanked or underbanked.
Oh, okay. So that makes more sense to me.
Yes.
Who is banked versus unbanked? All right.
Yes. So for each indicator, you can go in there and we put in plain language what that indicator was measuring. So people could also understand whether a higher percentage or value was more beneficial to health or not as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had sort of similar reactions. First of all, this is fantastic, and I'm so excited. I'm a city planner, so mapping public health data is like, I'm so excited about this. I wondered, so I wanted to comment also that I hope that we can use this in a way that's very strategic and asset-based, and I also shared the concern that this not be a way to identify neighborhoods, that are not successful in our community, and so I'm sure that that's part of your plan. So I wondered if you could talk more about how you see this data being used going forward. It seems like there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration with neighborhood organizations and other city departments. So I know you're just getting started, but I wondered if you could talk about anything that you guys have thought of for next steps with this, or if that's part of a pilot or not.
Councilmember, thank you for your question. There's a stakeholder group involved that has representatives from different city departments and also organizations external to the city that some of the indicators are involved with. And we've been having discussions about how this might be used. We are also going to have a meeting tomorrow with Noreen Beatley from federally to talk about different opportunities. One of the meetings that is set up is to talk about a project at the city coordinator's office with the sustainability unit there to see how this might be useful in their planning. For example, in my own work, we get a lot of requests from organizations within the community about data when they're applying for grants, and I think this is a huge resource for them as well to have this data at this granular level.
Thank you very much. Well, I think this is fantastic, and I got to play around with this a little, and I'm sure that neighborhoods will be very interested in it. There is something to be said for some kind of benchmarks or when we're all successful. I mean, obviously, if you're ranking them into 3 groups, I guess everybody could somehow fall into the top tier, but I think there'll be this pressure to keep it into middle bottom, even if we're all doing really well. So that'll be important. I was also curious if there's anywhere on here where there's some demographic information, like in terms of the geography of the neighborhood or the population. I know the second slide you talked about some demographic indicators, but I'm going to try to get back to that. But because that could make a difference. I mean, if you have a very few people who live in one of the neighborhood and it's mostly an industrial area and it scores really high on some aspects, it would help explain it quickly and easily. You could get some explanations for this. Is that also somewhere on the website and I just haven't found it yet?
Chairman Gordon, thank you for that question. We don't have the actual population of the neighborhood in there, but that is a great recommendation and something that I can explore adding to the website.
And I think you can kind of see the size of it if you look at the map, but that would be, the other thing is if it's particularly small, hardly anybody lives there, it might explain why there would be no crime or 100% are banked or whatever it is like that. Well, I'm excited about this, and I also heard you saying that you're willing to go out and present this to neighborhood organizations. Is that true?
So we have a meeting set up for tomorrow evening that we've invited them to come, and part of the presentation will end with a discussion about how they might be able to use it, as well as Healthy Housing Solutions has come forward and said that if any of the neighborhood organizations are interested, they could help with some limited technical assistance in terms of brainstorming or working with them to see how they could use it in their work.
Okay, so you're not saying you'll go to all 87 neighborhood or organizations and present, but there is a meeting that hopefully lots of people will come to. I see lots of ways that we can use this right off the bat. When I looked at it, I saw that if you wanted something accomplished in your neighborhood and you had a concern about it, you could go on here and look. And if you did identify it's a problem area for you, you're in the bottom ranking. I mean, it should give you some good ammunition to justify that and come back to the city and say, look, we need to improve in this area. We don't have access to parks, or too many of our residents don't have bank accounts, or whatever it is. So I think this is wonderful. And when this is going to continue for a couple more years, you're going to be with us helping to work on this. Is that true?
The end of the pilot project is in May. However, there's discussions with HUD to extend this. There's also going to be a version 2.0 of the website coming out in the next couple months that incorporates some of the suggestions that we've had already. And I'll communicate the suggestions that you all had today as well. And those will hopefully be incorporated in the version 2.0. I am hopeful that there will be another version continuing past this.
Okay, so I think we better hold on to this somehow in the department. I'm hoping that we're making plans to do so. What would really be useful also is to have a year-to-year or to track this, because if you collect some data one year and you want to work on it, you'd like to see if you've actually made any progress or not, or if something has slipped and gone wrong in different areas. So I'm hoping that we'll have the resources to also keep this up to date and refresh it every so often. Do you know if there's plans to do that?
So absolutely, there's a potential to upload data going forward. That is one of the things that we have already communicated as the pilot cities, to have the availability to trend the data on the website. And I've been told that if HUD does not continue to fund the website, that they can give us the website to host.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for all your great work on this so far, and all the great work you're going to continue doing, at least until May, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other further questions on this, and so I'm going to move to receive and file the presentation. Any comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. And next up, we have our 2014 Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council Annual Report. And as that's getting set up, I believe that Tamara will be heading that up. Everybody, also this is available online if you want to watch along on your computers if you have it. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Our co-chair, Omari Chapman, will start the presentation for us on behalf of our group.
All right.
Oh, and additionally, if it's possible to withhold questions till the end, that would be great. But if not, we'll certainly take them.
We'll try. Sometimes it's possible for us, and other times we can't possibly wait that long.
Happy to accommodate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and community members, council members. Thanks for your time and all that you do. I am Omari Chapman, co-chair of the Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council. The Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council is the official advisory body of the city of Minneapolis. We help grow the local food systems through community engagement, partnership development, and policy recommendations. Homegrown Minneapolis is a citywide initiative expanding our community's ability to grow, process, distribute, eat, and compost more healthier, sustainable, local grown foods. Homegrown Minneapolis brings together key partners from local government areas, area businesses, community organizations, nonprofits, and residents to build a healthier local food system. Homegrown Minneapolis has unfolded in 3 phases: the development and implementation of recommendations, followed by formation of the Food Council. All phases were community engaged and nurtured by the food system experts and community members through the extensive stakeholders meetings and development of reports by the city staff and local nonprofits. The Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council envisions a vibrant local food system that enhances the health of all residents, protects the earth, increases economic viability, expands social connectiveness, and improves food security. To continue to advance this vision, the Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council supports the Minneapolis residents, increases access to quality food, address hunger and food security, connects sectors of the food system, influence policy, and decision makers, and ensures an environmental sustainability and social justice food system. To accomplish this, the Food Council fosters cities' community partnerships, conveys and engages diversity stakeholders to identify and propose innovative solutions to improve the local food systems, provides ongoing guidance to the city on the local food issues, and serve as a platform for collaborative, coordinated actions. And now, to tell you more about the Food Council membership and the outline of the local food system, Homegrown Minneapolis Coordinator Tamara Down Schweiz.
Greetings. Thank you, Amari. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, council members. It's an honor to be with you here today. Honored to serve the city and the community as the local food policy and Homegrown Minneapolis coordinator and support the Food Council's work. Our Food Council has 21 members. Of those 21, we're fortunate to have 15 really impressive community members representing a whole spectrum of food system. We've got businesses, nonprofits such as urban farms, food advocacy organizations, farmers markets, food co-ops, compost businesses, educators, funders, and the university. We've also got 6 wonderful city representatives representing the City Council, the Mayor's Office, Health Department, Community Planning and Economic Development Department, Environmental Services, and the City Coordinators and Sustainability Office. While we have 1 City Council member on our Food Council, we've had amazing support from the entire City Council in helping to move the initiative forward. So we have a vibrant, expansive food system that we don't have time to fully cover today, but I'm going to take some time to give you a few highlights. At Homegrown, we have identified our food system to have 5 areas: growing, processing, distributing, eating, and composting. Starting with growing, give you a few highlights. Community is growing many kinds of food in many ways in many places. We have more than 243 community gardens, more than 30 of which are on city land in partnership with our Community Planning and Economic Development Department. We also have more than 20 urban farms. These are indoor and outdoor farms growing anything from mushrooms to honey, fish, and vegetables. In addition, we have 3 local food resource hubs. These local food resource hubs are in partnership with the city's health department and Gardening Matters to provide low-cost plants and seeds for community members in 3 specific areas, and as well as some technical assistance for community gardening and other gardening information. Here at the city, we are proud to say we have more than 265 permits for chickens currently. We have more than 50 permits for beehives. We have about 6 aquaponics projects that we're aware of. So we're growing so much different types of food, and it's growing every day, every year. Food processing is one of the more quickly growing areas of food for us, as well as a real amazing growth opportunity area. We've got a lot of really exciting small startups, such as You Betcha Kimchi, Punk Rock Labs making vegan nut cheese, the new Red Table Meats with their incredible cured meat selection, as well as some larger food manufacturers, such as At Last Gourmet Foods, all making a wide variety of really enticing, delicious local foods for our community. We have more than 70 food trucks that now have, as a result, launched at least 10 brick and mortar restaurants our community is enjoying food at, including a lot of local food. We have 3 licensed incubator kitchens. These kitchens, including Kindred Kitchen, Kitchen in the Market, and City Food Studio, are incubating numerous food businesses and helping them to launch and grow some products here in the city, as well as 40 what we're calling community kitchens. And those kitchens are places where people can prepare food, do some cooking activities, and do some food production under state regulations, certain specifically allowed food businesses. We also have an expansive and ever-growing food distribution system here in Minneapolis, including 29 farmers markets and mini markets. These farmers markets nearly all had provided EBT SNAP opportunities in the past year. We have farm stands throughout the city operated by Market Gardens and Urban Farms. And we also have CSA distribution points throughout the city and CSA farms that are offering a wide variety of products to our community members. We have grocery stores selling an ever-growing array of local food produce, including 4 really amazing food co-ops that nationally we're known for here and that are all in growth mode, really exciting. Additionally, we've got more than 70 corner stores who've partnered with the city's health department and with some local community organizations to increase their capacity of fresh vegetable and fruit sales and other healthy food, bolstered by a staple food ordinance and amendment, which has been supported here in this room, as well as a mobile grocery store, which launched this year, also enabled by some city ordinance change. Really exciting to see that in motion, literally and figuratively as well. Eating good food, that's what we are really here to support, and that's for everybody. People of all income ranges and age ranges. Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council is doing what we can to help make some progress in this area, including through EBT at farmers markets. As mentioned, we have EBT accepted at nearly every farmers market. In 2014, this totaled over $150,000 in SNAP EBT sales, and ever growing. Additionally, we are supporting healthy eating through our Healthy Corner Store initiative. Health department and the corner stores and many other partners have really made some amazing progress working with corner stores in the selection of healthy food available for residents. And healthy food policies is another work area that we have made some progress in partnership with the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board, both in city buildings as well as in park facilities. Excited to keep that work moving forward as well to reduce sugar consumption and increase accessibility of healthy food for everybody. So we want to keep the circle complete and use our food waste and other waste to help replenish our soil fertility and to increase our capacity to really reduce the food waste at the same time. So we're doing that in so many exciting ways. There's a lot of amazing progress being made with composting and your support in that as well. We've got a lot of backyard composting happening and more progress being made there, as well as now some opportunities in curbside organics collection that are increasing for residents of the city. And it was exciting to see the real demand for that as soon as that was made available to the community. Additionally, commercial composting operations are able to be expanding their operation, including with urban farms and landscaping companies. And finally, we've been very excited to hear that in 2014, 71 community gardens incorporated more than 600 cubic yards of compost through the city's free and reduced price compost program, helping to increase the fertility at the lots that they're gardening at and keep that circle complete. So now to tell you more about our Food Council's work, Co-Chair Russ Henry. Thank you.
Thanks, Tamara. Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members. At the Food Council, we engage in a lot of work to develop and nurture and grow the local food system. Let's start by looking at the research and development we're engaged in. So the Homegrown Hub Subcommittee our Hub Subcommittee has developed a list of Twin Cities area food hubs. A food hub is a produce aggregation center that works with farmers to process, distribute, and market produce. These range in scale from very small, such as 2 growers pairing together in a CSA model, to the very large, such as the new multi-acre project with warehouses and growing spaces being put together in Falcon Heights. Our Hub Subcommittee conducted interviews with 18 of 24 identified Hubs projects in the Twin Cities, and their survey included over 30 metrics on Hubs operations. Survey results are being compiled and made ready for presentation. For soil and nutrient research, we're working with St. Thomas to conduct compost experiments and data collection. We're also supporting St. Thomas professors and students in the development of a healthy food distribution system for corner stores. At Homegrown, we participate in city-level advocacy, of course, and in 2014, we supported passage of the Farm Stand Ordinance Amendment. This is a strategy to increase local growers' sales potential by allowing additional farm stand days, signage, and hours of operation. We supported the Mobile Food Store Ordinance, which allows for sale of groceries from vehicles as a way to increase healthy food access in low-income neighborhoods. We supported the Beekeeping Ordinance Amendment, which removed barriers to beekeeping by removing the neighbor's signature requirement for the beekeeping permit. And very importantly, we supported the Staple Foods Ordinance Amendment, in which we partnered with the health department to increase availability of healthy food in neighborhood stores that accept federal food assistance such as EBT and SNAP. Simply put, stores that accept EBT and SNAP in Minneapolis now have to carry real food instead of just pop, chips, and candy. And actually at this time, I have the honor to present to the counselors of HECE a giant card from the attendees of our recent Homegrown Minneapolis annual open house. This is to thank you for your work in growing the local food system and health throughout our city through the passage of the Staple Foods Ordinance. I'll just bring that up to you afterwards, but let me show you all the great signatures. Everybody's really happy. Thank you very much for the Staple Foods Ordinance. It's made a big difference in the community. At Homegrown, we also participate in state-level advocacy. We supported this year state legislation enabling farmers market vendors to more easily provide food samples. We supported state legislation of bee-friendly plants and labeling of bee-friendly plants and seeds, as well as compensation to beekeepers who lose bees due to pesticide applications. We also successfully advocated for changes to state compost facilities regulations. At Homegrown, we do a lot of community engagement. This year, we made presentations and tabled at more than 20 community events. We sent out over 15 Homegrown e-newsletters, which each reached over 1,900 people. And we launched the Friends of Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council page, which I encourage you all to please go ahead and like. One of our major outreach efforts this last year was, of course, our annual open house. Thank you to the counselors who attended the 2014 open house. It was in December at the Cedars Hall in Northeast. We had approximately 250 community members turn out for the event, in which we gave out 4 Homegrown Hero Awards to community food activists, including to St. Thomas University professors and students, to Hamilton Manor Community Garden, to the owner of Kay's Dollar and Grocery, which is a local corner store, and to Cappy USA. As well, we gave out 2 awards to our dedicated staff. We currently have 5 Homegrown working groups, and this is where the bulk of our work at Homegrown gets accomplished. We have our hubs and produce aggregation group, our land access subcommittee, community outreach and engagement. We have an animals working group, and our organics recycling and composting subcommittee. So let's have a look at some of our possible 2015 work. I'll explain a few of these items, and then we'll kind of skip a few slides and then go to get to the rest of the remaining items. One of the things we want to work on is changes to food processing regulations, such as streamlining permit application processes and instructions so that new food entrepreneurs might have an easier time getting started in business in Minneapolis. where we'd like to do further work on the Hubs survey and compost experiment data collection. And we're very excited to work with Parks and Rec on implementation of their new urban agriculture plan. As a sample of some of our work from one of our subcommittees, there is a vacant parcels map that we'll be releasing and hosting on our website. I did email all of you a link to that map this morning. Developed by our Land Access Subcommittee, this map uses county data to show location, addresses, and ownership information for vacant residential parcels in Minneapolis. This is a profoundly helpful tool for startup growers, and this has been heavily demanded of Homegrown for a few years now. And we're very proud of our Land Access Subcommittee Chair and self-described data geek, Mr. Andrew Dahl. If he was here, I'd call him the same thing. And this year, we're excited to work with City Council on several food system building policies. The first item we'd like to work with you on is equitable land access for growers. We're looking at the vacant lots that the city owns, and we're asking whether or not the city would be better served to turn some of these over to growers for cultivation while saving money on maintenance costs. In pursuit of land access for growers, we have 3 specific requests from council. 1, we'd like to work with council to extend the lease terms for city-owned parcels to greater than 1 year for growers with a minimum preferred of 5 years. And 2, we'd like to allow commercial growers to lease or purchase city-owned parcels with the understanding that community gardens would have priority access. 3, we'd like to expand the total number of city-owned lots available for agricultural lease or sale. We feel these things would go a long way towards helping grow the local food system. Furthermore, we'd also like to work with City Council on a few more items: composting at urban farms and community gardens, also known as small site commercial composting. This recently just became legal under the new MPCA guidelines for compost facilities. We'd like to work with you on chicken permits. We may seek reduced fees or greater ease of permitting for backyard chickens, much like we did for bees. And we'd like to work with you to advocate for changes to the Minnesota seed law that have recently been interpreted, unfortunately, to prohibit very important seed libraries and other seed sharing programs in Minnesota. Finally, we'd like to ask you to support the addition of 4 new Food Council members. This is a very exciting opportunity for us, where we'd like to ask the Minneapolis Parks and Rec Board, as well as Minneapolis Public Schools, to send a staff member each, and likewise also to send us representatives from the community, 2 representatives from the community. So 4 new members. Thank you all very much for letting us come and present to you today. Do you have any questions for us? We'd be happy to take them.
I don't see any questions right offhand, but I really
Pretty
appreciate
controversial stuff we're dealing with here.
Well, it can be, has been, but might not be in the future. We'll see. So I appreciate all the work and the report. I think there's a couple things that we might want to take a little action on today. Maybe you could go back to that recommendation slide just for a second. And I think that I'm interested to find a way to move number 4 this morning. So, and we can discuss it a little bit if we want, but as part of the action to receive and file, I think I'm going to move to amend the resolution. I was trying to look up which resolution it is, and I actually think we amended it in 2011, but it's the enabling resolution, and I'm sure that the clerk and I can figure that out with this motion. But I just want to amend the Minneapolis Food Council resolution to add 1 staff member, each from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board and the Minneapolis Public Schools, and 2 additional community members appointed by those 2 organizations. And I understand that we actually have somebody from the Park Board who's already been interested and involved, and the Park Board, of course, just completed their urban ag plan. It's maybe less sure if we'll get a good recruit from the schools, but there is interest. Oh, we have one.
We've got a recruit lineup from schools, too.
Excellent, excellent. So on that motion maybe, or just on a general comment, Councilman Clinton?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I have a question really just because this is the first that I've seen of this recommendation on the change to the membership on the homegrown Minneapolis Food Council. I know often when these recommendations come forward, there's been a lot of discussion, including with staff, so I haven't been part of it, so this is why I'm asking the question. The one piece that seems a little bit unusual to me is that is not having representatives from some of our jurisdictional partners, or that those could be staff, or they could be a community member or whatever, but what seems a little unusual is to have both staff representatives, or however they choose to fill those, and then have community members that are appointed by those bodies to come and serve on this city body.
Yes.
And so I needed a little bit more information on why that is the recommendation as opposed to, well, anyway, why is that the recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Glidden. The recommendation comes because we recognize that we'll be including staff members that are already very busy. They have really big workloads. And so in order to accomplish some of the work that we imagine we'd like to engage with public schools and parks on, we'd also like to make sure we build in community members from those specific communities with interests around the parks and interests around the schools in order to make sure that we're able to accomplish work. We are keeping a balance of community members and city staff. Right now, the way the council stands, we have 6 staff and 15 community members. When adding new staff members, we wanted to make sure that the balance of power still stayed with the community.
Well, and that's why I can see adding more community members. It's the appointing body that seems a little bit strange to me. Have we talked to Minneapolis Public Schools and to the park board about whether they would want to appoint a community member to come and sit on this body, and do they think that would they be able to accomplish that? And again, I just ask, sometimes if you want that community representative and that stronger connection to the schools, it might be, well, we want somebody from this, that serves on this committee for the, site council for whatever, for Minneapolis Public Schools, something that has a stronger connection then into a desire to see implementation happen that involves our partners. So again, that's why I'm just asking, so I understand what's been the conversation and if this will really accomplish the goals. I get the balance piece. I think there's maybe multiple ways to achieve that. So.
And I'm sure there are multiple ways to achieve that. This seemed like a very palatable way to add membership from both organizations. I think additionally, in including our desire not to overload staff, that's certainly a desire on behalf of, or on part of the Parks and Rec as well as public schools. So they want to make sure that the work that they're involved with that's going to be affecting their bodies, that they have some folks to help accomplish that work.
So have we talked again with the Minneapolis Park Board and with Minneapolis Public Schools, and this is how they desire to move forward?
Indeed, and Tamara has some comments on this too.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
Thank you, Councilmember Glidden. So first, we have learned about some parallels within the city infrastructure currently with the Bicycle Advisory Committee. They have had some similar representation with the Park and Rec Board and community representation on that group to be able to enable the same type of outcome that we are hoping for here, and have found that to be a successful model that we are looking at replicating. Additionally, I've had extensive conversation with staff from both the Park and Rec Board and the Minneapolis Public Schools who are very interested and excited about the possibility to have a kind of institutional partnership both on the city side as well as on this, particularly in the case of the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board. They have this urban agriculture activity plan that they are working to move forward and looking at having an implementation committee of some sort and looking at have some cross fertilization happening both on their side and ours to have more opportunity on the on the structural side and at the table to be able to have their voice as we're doing our homegrown Minneapolis work and our voice in their work. And they've thought that this could be a real opportunity to both have the community representation as mentioned, as well as the staff who could make those connections internally with their staff infrastructure as our membership body here has some ideas that they could move forward. I don't know if that's answered your question, but
Okay.
we've had a number of conversations with them, and they've had internal conversation as well as within the Food Council. And I apologize that this didn't get to your desk
You don't
before
need
this
to
meeting.
apologize. I'm not the chair, I'm not the vice chair. There's no expectation, it's just a question. So,
And I'll just comment that I think we've been nurturing the relationship with the parks and the schools for a long time. And this, how to get them better connected to the Food Council and to all this work has been a conversation that the Food Council's had for months. It's come up a few times. We discussed it a lot at the last meeting, and there is an issue. The Food Council was established to kind of have a 3-to-1 ratio maybe of community members versus staff. There was always this there was a concern initially that even having staff and policymakers with community members on an advisory group, how's it going to work? And originally there was a concern, well, let's make sure that community voice is heard loud and clear. There was even some discussion that we should add 2 community members for every staff member, but we didn't necessarily want the group to get that large. So everybody was comfortable. I think it passed unanimously at the Food Council to say, let's just get 1 community member, a kind of a park community voice and a school community voice, and then let's get the staff person. And I think that will help the group, and that's why I brought the motion forward. Are there any other questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none. Oh, is that on this motion, Councilmember Bender? No, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually used to serve on the Bicycle Advisory Committee, so before you mentioned that, I had thought to make that comparison where we had quite a lot of staff, including from the park board, as well as community appointees from the park board. And I wasn't sure about it at first. We went around in circles about it a bit, especially with Robin. I don't like having too much staff on these, but I've seen through my experience on the Bicycle Advisory Committee how important it is actually to have staff who can take this back, and then also to have the balance of having, I think, more community members really to keep pushing us and to keep those community voices present in the conversation. So just wanted to share that anecdote. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, point of clarification, what's the motion that's presently before us?
The motion is to amend the Food Council resolution to include 1 staff from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board and 1 staff from the Minneapolis Public Schools, and then also 2 community members, 1 from each group.
Thank you. Then I'll reserve my comment for following the motion.
Okay. Seeing no further comments, then all those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And now, Councilmember Frye, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is really just more of a point of clarification again. So there's a number of recommendations for City Council action. I'm seeing this is on page number 21 of 23. And the 3rd bullet point is, well, actually, all 3 of these bullet points. So extend the lease term for city-owned parcels, allow commercial growers to lease or purchase city-owned parcels, and then 3rd is expand total number of city-owned lots available for urban ag. I just want to see what is the action that will be taken at the end of this committee, and then the question would be if that action shouldn't be thrown over to CDRS, given that that's the committee that deals most often with these topics. So it's really kind of an open-ended question there.
Well, I would, as chair of this committee, I would think that would be appropriate because I think all of these issues are more community development in dealing with those parcels. So I think that would be totally appropriate. But I don't know if Mr. Henry or anyone.
That's what we had anticipated.
So the action that would be taken is a filing?
Well, I think we could receive and file the report, but I also think we could refer the issue of land access policy recommendations to the Community Development Committee for consideration.
Okay, I would move that we do that.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that's great to keep the work moving. I just wanted to comment, a number of these items actually have, a lot of next steps or might go through other committees, including number 5 through IGR. So, I think it makes sense to do that to keep the work moving, but I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't intended that this committee would do all of these
No.
policy changes, that this was just kind of the things
This
that
is
you
our
had hoped we'd
opportunity
work
to
on this
present
year.
to council, and so we just wanted to let this committee know the work that we're going to be engaged in.
Did you want to make, we could make a recommendation about this is the issue of the seed libraries. Is that the item 5? It's not in front of me.
Chair Gordon, there is
Chair
a,
of IGR is here right now, so she can
right, and of course,
volunteer to take
IGR
that up on her own perhaps. But let's go back to the motion at hand to refer to CD. Not that, but the issue of the land access policy. Okay. Yes, Councilmember Gordon.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I just I agree with Councilmember Bender. Some of these, actually one of these is kind of, I think we have set our piece, and this is on the seed libraries, and we're now, our IGR staff has this on their agenda to support changes that we are hopeful will be made this year at the state level on the seed library issue. On the motion itself, though, is the idea then at CD, I mean, this is one of the interim steps that normally would happen is I think you would have kind of a staff group that could work with policymakers to evaluate, the range of options around these recommendations that the Food Council wants considered. And that then at some point that would come with some options for CD committee or other committees to consider as well. So is the idea that the CD committee would then make that referral to staff to help develop the work. Have in the past been involved in some work groups on some of these issues, but I'm not involved right now. So I don't know where this work is at in terms of bringing together some of the staff who manage the vacant lots and our city housing staff and other staff that would need to be part of the conversation. I don't know if that's for Councilmember Gordon or.
I know that there has been
Yeah.
discussion, and we actually have CPED staff who are on the Food Council, so that there is communications and the recommendations have been discussed. And it seemed appropriate that this would be the first stop for them to come formally to the council during this annual report. I don't know if, and I certainly think that committee could then have a staff direction and further that work. That would make total sense. But Councilmember Fry might want to add to that.
No, I don't have a lot further. I just wanted to make sure that staff were collaborating along the way, because if these proposals were ultimately going to go forward, I would assume that they would go through CDRS. So, if there was a staff direction that was coming out of today, I thought that maybe it should also go through that committee as well. But I'm certainly open to input.
Councilmember Bender.
Mr. Chair, I think I'm going to suggest that I think it may be premature to refer this to the CDRS committee before there is any sort of specific action for that committee to take, and they might be confused if we send forward something that has really, from what I'm hearing, hasn't really even gotten started yet. And maybe we can just take these as a receive and file for recommendations of policy items that we might consider working on this year. That would be my thought.
Well, I would say that the work already has begun. I think there's already been some discussions that we've actually. I'd like to see it move forward a little more quickly than that. We've had some problems from some of the growers because they're really concerned about investing in the land because the lease terms are so limited. So all they can get is a one-year lease out of this, and so they can't actually. Replenish the soil. They wonder about what those investments are. And there's an issue about, well, if we could just get a little bit of an extension on that lease. And they've even talked very specifically about the terms so that there could be an opt-out at any time that's needed. But if they could just get a 2-year or a longer lease, and what they really need is the policymakers to grapple with it now. I think staff's discussed it. I think the industry's discussed it at length. And the other issue is about the parcels that we have available for community gardeners. And they're just sitting there because there aren't enough community gardeners that want to open it, but there's commercial growers that are saying, could I please get access to those growing parcels? You've said they're good for growing food. You'll allow us to grow food on them, but you won't allow a commercial grower to plant the seeds, but you would a community garden. So they could either pretend they're a community garden and then sneak around selling food somewhere or not, or we could just admit, we do want people to be producing food. Let's move that along. So my whole premise of this is we've pushed and pulled amongst the staff and amongst the Food Council for a year now, and we need to somehow get the policymakers to come up and say, yes, it is okay to extend the lease. Yes, it is okay to allow commercial growers to use our lots that are set aside for growing. The other issue about expanding the total number of city-owned lots, that's another matter that has to come up that maybe isn't quite as ready for fruition, but I'm not sure. I think they've also studied different lots and looked at them, and we have maps of all of them, and there's a real potential here. So I think I would rather get it out of the hands of staff and the Food Council and bring it to the City Council at this point. So I'm gonna vote for the staff direction to at least refer it to the committee where it should be most appropriately dealt with.
May I add, Chair Gordon, that the timing of this for the growing season, the upcoming growing season, if any movement on any of these policies could be made in the next few months, it could actually give us benefits even this year for our growers.
You mean we can just move to the late spring, 6 months? Kidding. That's a rhetorical question. Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the clarification. I'm happy to support this.
Okay, then. I think I'm ready to call for the vote on the staff direction. Everybody comfortable with that? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that moves forward. And then I think the last thing that we have to do, unless there's other comments or any questions, is just to move and receive and file the report. I'll make that motion with gratitude to the great work that the Food Council has done and all the staff and community members. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And I can't think of anything else for us to talk about that would be appropriate at this time. So this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.